Hello, hello, and welcome everybody. We're going to get started in just a sec. We are so happy to have you here today with us. We've got a great session for you. As you are joining, please jump into chat. Tell us where you're coming from. And since the seasons are changing, it's fall is right around the corner. Tell us your favorite thing about fall. I'm getting excited seeing all the Halloween things in stores because it is my favorite holiday by far. It's just nice to be reminded that cool weather is coming. As someone who's living in Florida, I'm just waiting and counting down those days for cooler temperatures. So tell us in chat where you're coming from and your favorite thing about fall.
Is it actually cool on Halloween for you? Because it is certainly not in Southern California.
Is it cool
Is
on
it
Halloween?
cool on Halloween? Like, does it cool off? Because
Sometimes, not always. We'll get like 60s, 70s, and that's beautiful, but it doesn't get usually much colder than that in Gainesville. Welcome everybody. Fall colors and making apple pie. I love that, Kristen. Florida here. What is fall? Yeah, I know. What are seasons? Thank you for joining. If you're joining, we are asking you to put your name, where you're coming from, and tell us your favorite thing about fall. We're going to get started in just a second. I'll let some more people join. Hurricane season ending. Yes, I feel that one. All my Florida people know. Make sure as you are chatting to us that your setting is set for everyone. If you'd like everyone to see your chat, it's defaulting to hosts and panelists. So just change that setting where the drop down says to, just change it to everyone so that everyone can see your comments. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. I know that we've got some more people joining as we start this introduction. I'm Kristen. I am the Director of Marketing and Customer Engagement at Cidi Labs. And you have joined Design Matters Live, our monthly webinar series. This is our second student support superhero topic today. And we are going to have a lot of really interesting conversations, some demos, and show you some features that can really help you make your courses more learner-centric and help your students where they really need it and not overdo it. So there's some exciting things we've got to show you today to implement in your Canvas courses. First, we're going to cover some housekeeping. So we are recording this webinar. You do not have to worry if you have to leave early. We totally understand. And anybody who is registered, we will send this recording out in the next few days, along with any links or resources that we mention in the email together. If you've missed any of our webinars before, you can catch them in our website where we have all of our webinars. I'm going to drop that link in chat. Today, you will see the research, conversations, and demos. And if you have questions along the way, we are using the Q&A feature. So there is a little Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Use that to put any of your questions that you really want answered, because if you put them in chat and we've got a lot of things going, sometimes we miss those, and we don't want to miss your juicy questions. We want to make sure we get to those. So put your questions in the Q&A. And we will make sure to answer those. We've got some time saved at the end of this session, so we will go through any of the things that we don't answer along the way with that time. Let me introduce some of the Cidi Labs team who are joining me today. Stephanie Tate is our contributor to training and content development. Ethan is one of our instructional tools developers. We also have Natalie Sharp here, who is one of our other instructional tools developers and will be helping us in the Q&A. Jennifer Malkovich is also joining us, who is our VP of product. I'm hoping I'm not messing that up, my boss, and I can't remember their job role. We also have some other people from our team who might be joining in chat. Please say hi if you are from Cidi Labs. You can ask our customers. Cidi Labs is known for our training and support and how much our team loves just helping and being here for that. So if you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. If it's your first time joining us and learning about Cidi Labs, Cidi Labs was founded out of a partnership with Utah State, where Kenneth Larson, our co-founder, was working as an instructional designer and was given permission to hack Canvas, and he started making the first iteration of what would later become our flagship product, words today, Design Plus. Over the years, our team has grown with educators, instructional designers, and former customers who are all drawn to improving the learning experience for everyone. We have 6 products for Canvas, from accessibility to course life cycle management. All of these tools have been developed in partnerships with our customers and with partnerships with universities. Today, we're going to be showing off Design Plus. If you're curious about any of our products, please reach out. I'll drop a link so you can sign up for a demo, and we'd love to help you discover your course design superpowers. As I mentioned, this is our second webinar in a new series of webinars. For the past few months, we have been sending out the Design Matters Digest, where we share research about how design impacts learning. And we offer a few practical tips in each one, 3 usually, to make sure that you can put these things into action. And it's not just abstract research that you read and you go, oh, that's a cool idea, but how do I actually do it? So we want to make this practical and useful to you. So these webinars, we're taking that same content and we're bringing it to life with discussions, examples, and live demos. So in August's blog, we focused on student support, which is our topic for today. And we're going to jump right in with Stephanie, who's going to share today's goals.
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, hi, everyone. If you read the most recent digest, you got a sense for some of the research-backed tips for embedding effective support for your learners in Canvas. Today, you'll get to see our tool Design Plus in action and how it can make implementing that kind of support easy and scalable. Specifically, we're going to look at some of the research on designing effective learner support, and then we're going to explore 3 major areas in your course to add that support. For each of those areas, we'll discuss the research behind quality implementation, and we'll do a live demo showcasing how Design Plus can streamline the process and help you walk away with a practical tool set. Of course, having fun is always a goal for us as well, so please join in that with us.
We hear often from our teams and customers that we get to work with so many great ideas, and we know that your time is always limited, as well as the resources available to you to work on the projects that have the most value. So we have a poll. This is a question for the big dreamers of where would you target if you had a student support magic wand? What issue would you solve? So I'm going to launch this poll. Click in the buttons, launch. And we'd love to know, what would you target? What area do you see as the place where you would like, yes, poof, I'd make magic happen right here. And this will help guide us too. So if you have an other, please put it in the chat and tell us what the other is. If there's a different area we didn't capture, let us know what that area is.
While we're giving everyone just a minute, I'd love to share one of my thoughts here. I have a 13-year-old daughter who recently started her very first online course. And it started with tears, which was frustrating to me as a father. And when I looked at the Canvas course she was enrolled in, I was even more frustrated as an instructional designer. I was like, there's no clear way how to get started here. How's my daughter supposed to know what to do? And anyway, so for me, just being able to help students get a good, successful start, being able to jump right into the course, know where to go, and just navigate exactly, step 1, 2, and 3, getting started. I would love it if every online course had that figured out.
It's no good when a course starts in tears.
I was teaching high school English in the pandemic, and one of the biggest barriers for learners was just helping them figure out where to submit their assignments or how to find the assignment. It really made it so challenging to be like getting into a new learning management system. And sometimes we forget, if we work inside that learning management system all the time, that for especially new learners online, they don't always know what to do. And so I would love to wave a magic wand to make learners just easily know where to drop their assignments as if they were in a physical classroom.
Well, we've got about 79% answered, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. And we'll return to this with some of the follow-up on some of the people who add other ideas in here. But looks like the number one was how to navigate the course. As you mentioned, where to locate resources, about 15%, 10%, how to submit an assignment or where to submit assignment, how to get started being 24%, and then we've got the others in the chats, which we'll come back to. So thank you for sharing that. This will help us guide this conversation today.
Yeah, and I see in those poll responses some of the things we're going to highlight today, so I'm excited about that. But let's get started with some context for today. We know learners enter your Canvas courses with varied learning needs and experiences, and so designing a course to serve those diverse learners can prove pretty complex. Maybe then it's tempting to load up a course with resources at every turn in hopes to support all those learners. But research tells us that too much supplemental content presented with the essential content can actually backfire by increasing your learners' cognitive load. No. And yet, support that's too far removed from the moment when or where it's needed doesn't always transfer, since learners may not tune into that support when it was presented. So that's that classic moment, maybe when an instructor gets a question and thinks, didn't we just cover that 2 pages ago in the module? So we're left with this question: how can a Canvas course be designed to effectively support learners? And we've got some research here. That first bullet point's letting us know that the research is consistently showing that support at the moment of need is highly effective. And that makes sense. It's like when you need the support, it's most useful. And that second quote dials in a little bit more, that to enhance online learning outcomes, learners need appropriate instructional support, such as timely and appropriate scaffolding that encourages learners to construct their own knowledge in the online learning environment. So when we take these ideas and merge them together, timely support at the moment of need really boils down to this idea of just-in-time support. So think of designing a course where the relevant support for the moment is there, reducing barriers for learners, and giving them the scaffolding they may need to succeed at a given task. And yet, all the realists out there, knowing just-in-time support can be highly effective doesn't solve for the reality that you're just one person and you cannot support all learners at all hours in every course, right? But never fear. This is where strategically embedding just-in-time support in your Canvas courses can really help. Today, we'll explore research and tips for these 3 areas you see on the slide for just-in-time scaffolding. First, talking through supporting a successful start for your learners. Shout out to Ethan, and also to all of you who picked that in the poll. Second, supporting each task at hand in the course progression. And finally, supporting your learners' ability to monitor their own learning. So let's get started with the first one. That first focus area today is thinking about supporting a successful start for learners when they enter your Canvas courses. So what does the research say about this particular area? Well, research on timely, appropriate support when starting the course tells us that we want to keep orientation information succinct, and it's really helpful to leverage short videos, both for online learning skills and for LMS navigation. Hey, that was another one you all wanted to wave your magic wand for, right? And doing so has been linked to student success, persistence, and overall experience. Another piece of research that I find fascinating is that learners' mental model accuracy for course structure really only increases after an initial period. And in this particular study was most affected by supportive information provided early on. So learners are going to make sense of that course navigation really quickly in the course. So we want to be able to support them right off the bat. And so much of this research can be put into practice via your course homepage and/or a welcoming announcement. Think about that announcement piece. If you know a lot of your learners access Canvas through that mobile app, they might not be routed right to that homepage. And so we can double up with that information to cover all our bases. And do note here, when you're thinking about your homepage, it need not be a one-stop support shop. Practically speaking, students will likely visit the homepage when first entering the course, but they may bypass it later, right? If they are using their to-do list or other links to go directly to an assignment. So here, the research emphasizes the need to focus early support on the most critical resources, such as brief orientation videos, first assignments, instructor contact options, and student services, the types of support they may need to get started without running into constant barriers that can prove pretty detrimental to their self-efficacy and motivation. Now, let's be honest, you can do this process without Cidi Labs tools, and you can generate maybe some custom solutions with coding to implement the research-based strategies that we just covered. In fact, I used to have homepage buttons that I designed with like a free buttons tool, and I arranged them in a Canvas table. And then I eventually learned that using a table for layout isn't an accessible practice. So I scrapped that. Then the workload became getting into the HTML and trying to code bootstrap columns. And it just became a ton of work to make that supportive idea a reality in Canvas. But there's good news. Design Plus makes adding this kind of support a breeze. So we want to know, why do it the hard way when you can do it the Cidi Labs way?
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I feel your pain when I was doing instructional design work, trying to style the page, trying to create buttons or column layouts or things like that. Just such a pain. But Design Plus really does make it easy. And you can create beautiful page designs like the one you see here in the screenshot very quickly and easily without needing to know any coding. So what I'd like to do now is kind of take you on a little tour of that page. So we're just going to do a quick handoff and take a look at this page inside of Canvas. So the first thing you may notice is just this theme and all the color and headings. That's really a hallmark of Design Plus. It's clear to see a page created with Design Plus because we have these themes that make it easy to style your page. But in relation to some of the things that Stephanie was discussing in the research, we have these different elements. This first one I'll direct your attention to is the link grid, we call it. You can have a series of links styled as buttons with hover effects, icons, and then they can collapse into different, based on the screen size, they are responsive, and you can just add more and more to it. So it's a really nice way to provide some easy and eye-catching navigation for students, especially the start here is important, of course. As a home page, you can have things like, your welcome video. That's a really important way to connect right off the bat with your students and provide them with some upfront instruction and guidance. And something great about Design Plus, it makes it very easy to take things like images or videos and float them off to the side so that you're not just putting everything down in a straight single column, but that you can really utilize horizontal space as well. We have a really cool little shortcut button that you can add in here. And when a student clicks this button, it opens in a new tab and will open the inbox directly, messaging the teacher. So we have a way that you can do that in your course. This is a cool little widget that we have. That's another cool space saver called an accordion. Not going to get too much into that now, but it's a nice way that you can conserve some space on your page. Here we have like a column layout of resources. So these are things that you might want to make sure your students know about and can access easily. And so rather than just being tiny little links kind of hidden in the page, these cards and these columns really help it to stand out and provide you with a way to make this really easy for students to access. And then we have different shapes and backgrounds and things that you can do, making large buttons to make it really clear and emphasize content on your page. One quick thing too, before we move on, I want to show you that if you were to create something like this, for example, this is a content block, we call it, you can recreate it very quickly and easily anywhere else that you need to as well. So just quickly, I'm going to go in and edit this page, open the Design Plus sidebar. And if I wanted to add in that content block, perhaps I'm going to add some space up here. So I've got just a nice empty space. When I add in a content block, I have some of these templates. And these are ones that I've created, ones that come from Cidi Labs, sort of pre-built styles and ideas. But this one that I created for resources is right here, a single click, and I've got all of that content here ready to go. So this way I can sort of consistently provide resources to students. Perhaps this is a footer at the bottom of each major assignment, or perhaps this is in a module overviews, or however I want to do that. Lastly, I'll just mention we have a special type of content block called a policy block, which can be centrally managed. And so if you have academic policies, for example, that are district-wide or university-wide, you can house them in one place drop them into all these different courses. And then when you make updates here at the source, it can update those source blocks as well, which is really cool, sort of synchronized feature within Design Plus. So really just the tip of the iceberg here as far as what Design Plus can offer, but this helps give you a good idea of how the sidebar makes it easy to construct pages like this one that you're seeing.
That's amazing. We used to update at my last role student services page like every term. And it was this huge task. And so I love that policy blocks element that can just be updated and pushed out. It's amazing. All right, so that covered our first area, and hopefully some of you who wished you could wave a magic wand are seeing that magic in action here to help your learners navigate the course. So our second area is thinking about how to support each task in the course, whether it be learning new content or completing an assignment. So research on instructional support shows that when you're designing effective scaffolding, right, that kind of like support in tiers, the support should vary based on the learning activity, and it should be present at the relevant time in the learning cycle. The learning cycle, whether that be, you know, module beginning to end, or whether that be over the entire course, right? And so you can think of this as defining support practices for each course activity and considering how the need for support shifts throughout that learning cycle as well. So how can we design activity-based support in Canvas? Well, I like to think of this design goal as differentiation without distraction. So first, think about what the objective is for that activity and what various knowledge and skills may be required. For learning content, you could front load conceptual background or provide definitions for new vocabulary. But something to keep in mind, since online activities require both academic and technological understanding, you want to think about supporting both needs, right? Linking, if you're talking about maybe a discussion, linking sentence starters may help learners thoughtfully engage in the class discussion, but Canvas student videos can help them actually post and reply successfully. And those are totally separate skills, but they have to bring them together to complete the task. And so the goal here isn't to over scaffold, which can actually backfire with learners when they don't experience an optimal amount of challenge. But the goal is to make sure support is easily accessible for those who may need it. And as we talk about the appropriate time in the learning cycle, you could front load more task-based support early on in a course and slowly fade it out if you're, you know, trying to manage that over scaffolding element.
Yeah, so I've experienced this in my design work. I thought with discussions, just like you mentioned, a good example. I want students to have all the resources and help that they need to be successful in the discussion. But when you do that and you just add in all this stuff, it takes up a lot of space, and you know, for students, it's kind of almost getting in the way. You could also try linking it out, but then you've got to manage these other links, and students might not click on the links and engage with it that way. So it's always a challenge to try to provide that just-in-time support, because you feel like you're sort of just overwhelming them with all this information that's always visible on the page. You know, by the time they get to the bottom, they might not even remember what the prompt was. So anyway, that I definitely know how that could be a challenge.
Yeah, I've absolutely been there too. And I imagine our audience probably has. But don't worry, right? Design Plus can help. Design Plus has countless ways to help support the task at hand, and we'll see a few of those, allowing you to add resources without taking up that visual real estate that you were just mentioning, Ethan, or without, as you also mentioned, requiring students to navigate away from the task itself. So we're going to see those in action, including tooltips and dialog boxes that help us add additional content information without cluttering the visual design. Tabs, which help us streamline a lot of resources, and even another content shortcut that we talked about, and some side navigation for all of you who were like, my magic wand is navigation. We've got another little treat to show you. So all of this will help learners easily locate the support they may need.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and hand it off here, and I will share that. So what we wanted to do for this is sort of show a before and after. So this is kind of what we were discussing just a moment ago. You have a discussion here with some background, the actual prompt question you want them to answer. Maybe you're able to change text color in Canvas. If you want them to view the rubric, it's kind of a strange process in which students have to come here and click on view rubric. So adding in a screenshot's a great idea, but again, you're taking up space here. And then if you want them to have Canvas tutorials, that's just taking more space, sentence starters. There's a lot of really great stuff in here, but you can see how I'm just like scrolling so far before I even get to this reply button that we actually need a reminder of what I'm supposed to do. So how can we get all of this into a discussion without taking up so much space, making it easier to understand? So here we have a design plus another theme that you can see the way these content blocks are laid out. One of the first things you'll notice is that we just have a show rubric button. That's a nice shortcut that they click on that and it shows the students what the rubric that you've created and set in Canvas for this discussion. Lots of, again, cool shapes and different background images that you can use to make content really stand out. And then here we have this really awesome space-saving widget we call tabs. It's also come in accordions like we saw on the previous homepage. But essentially you have content attached to these different sections. And so here I've got my sentence starters in one, and my videos in another, and these articles here. So I can have all of that still here in the same one without having to necessarily send them somewhere else or take up lots and lots of space. And so I can get sort of everything that I want here in a nice shorter amount of space, laid out and styled in such a way that it makes it easier for students to navigate. And then over here on the right, we have what we call a side navigation, which is really great because this allows students to be able to go anywhere inside the module. Or if you want, this can be the entire course. And when students click on this button, it shows them all of the modules, which can then expand and go to any item inside any module. But this is really nice because it just kind of hangs out on the side. It's not interfering. It follows the students, wherever you go. So it's a nice, easy way to help students navigate either the module that they're in, or a different module, or the entire course itself. The other thing I wanted to show real quick is some of the other cool just-in-time instructional tools that we have. So first is on this instructional page, the ability to add tooltips. So if there are unfamiliar words or phrases, it's very easy for an instructor to define that in context so that all the student has to do is hover and see an explanation of what that term is. Another type of tooltip we have is called a popover, which is a little bit larger. It can contain links and images and other things like that as well. And then we also have a dialog box, which I'm going to show you. We're going to construct that together, actually. But again, just lots of really cool different ways to present content and ways to add in color and shapes and buttons and things like that. So let's look at the dialog box really quick. And let's imagine that on this instructional page, we want students to remember what we learned about zebras, from a previous page. We've got this page with the information about zebras. But we don't want to necessarily just link it out. This is a really great way to include that information without having to send students elsewhere to get it. So I'm going to highlight that text. I'm going to choose a dialog box, and that turns the text into a trigger. And inside the dialog box, I have the zebra info. Now, rather than having to come here and copy and paste this, love to showcase another really cool tool inside of Design Plus called the Template Content tool. This allows you to copy templates from a central location, maybe that's managed by your district or your university, or just from the course itself. So every page and assignment, everything in my course is here, and all I have to do is select what I want, and it will drop that content in at that placeholder position. So now I have that zebra info without having to copy and paste anything, and I can save the page and show you what that dialog looks like. So here's the trigger. When I click on that, it opens up the dialog with the information that I want to refer students back to. They can then close and continue on throughout the page. So other really great options that we have. They're sort of interactive. As students hover or click, they get additional information just in time to help them in their learning.
I love that, Ethan. And we're seeing some people were hoping their magic wand was to increase some interactivity. So hopefully some of these features that we're showcasing is giving you a sense for how even your support can be interactive for your learners. Okay, so the final area for consideration today is supporting your learners' self-monitoring, which is really guiding them to check their understanding and engage with resources that help move them forward. We've got a pile of research, so stick with me through that, but a lot of research is just showing how important this is for such a simple solution that we'll show you with Design Plus. So research has documented time and time again how learners' self-monitoring and metacognitive behaviors are linked to success, perseverance, and satisfaction. So many learners, though, might not have a complete tool set for engaging in that kind of reflective learning. And that first quote in the research does tell us that even those who know metacognitive practices are helpful sometimes don't even use them or activate them spontaneously in a course. And so the second quote here tells us, though, the use of metacognitive scaffolding has a significant and positive effect on students' learning achievement, metacognitive ability, and academic self-efficacy. So that's the good news, is that even if learners might not have those metacognitive skills or they might not engage with them when they should, we can actually scaffold them through good course design. And so a little more here, if you are thinking about and engaging with universal design for learning in your institution, especially I know my K-12 folks, the consideration 6.4 is focused on enhancing capacity for monitoring progress. And you can see the quote here is talking about learning cannot happen without feedback. That means learners need a clear understanding of the progress that's being made towards the learning goal. And then this piece actually goes on to talk about a learner's ability to do that on their own being incredibly helpful. But some suggestions provided through these UDL guidelines are to use prompts to guide self-monitoring and reflection, and to use templates that guide self-reflection on quality and completeness. So those are two separate things, maybe just kind of the monitoring and the reflection versus checking on your own, like how well you're completing the task. But both of them can be scaffolded in a similar way. And I said we had a pile of research here. If we take this all a step further into online context specifically, this quote really helps ground us in a practical approach. So the research says that this recent review of the effectiveness of specific technology tools that are frequently incorporated into online courses, discussion boards, online quizzes, embedded video. A lot of you are talking about LTIs and how do I get more interactivity? Well, it was found that the mere presence of such tools did not seem to affect student learning. Rather, it was the technology tools that did promote student learning were those that provided students with more control over their interactions with media and those that encouraged learner reflection. So we're onto something, trying to get that interactivity into the course here. And so we can use in Canvas simple reflective prompting and then avail support in response. So maybe you add a reflective question during the content learning phase, or even maybe during the assignment planning. That helps your learners consider their confidence with the topic or where they are in the process toward that activity completion. You can also promote active learning by adding in a no stakes formative question. And I want to emphasize that no stakes piece keeps the content question as a self-check rather than an assignment, which encourages learners to reflect rather than just complete. And so what's great about either style, whether it be those kind of prompts or the reflective questions, is that you can connect feedback and resources to those prompts, providing that extra level of just-in-time support.
Yeah, in design work, I would use like guiding questions to sort of put before maybe watching a video or doing a reading, reflective questions for afterwards, something like that. But it seemed like unless I attach points to it, are students really going to do it? Am I ever really going to see it? Am I really going to really know? Does it really matter that much? So it's tricky because you want to build in these mechanisms for promoting metacognition throughout the learning process, but it's difficult to make those stand out or, to be able to really see the effects or gauge that. make them interactive. So anyway, that I know that that was a struggle. You build in these things, but are they really even noticing them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can also admit, right, even as the course builders, that we've taken the route of least resistance before, not just our students. I know I've skipped right over reflective questions, fully knowing the research behind them totally helped me, but I've gone right past them. And so the good news is that Design Plus has an amazing quick check feature, and it visually stands out from the rest of the content. And the bonus, it's also interactive, right? So it encourages learner engagement with the helpful metacognitive scaffolding. It's not just a text question that they might just breeze right past. They engage with the actual question. As a bonus, you can also choose to hide the next button until students answer the quick check to really encourage that interaction. We like the word encourage, right? All right. Ethan, can you show us that?
Yeah, absolutely. Excited too. And it is. Okay, so this is a fun instructional page again that we're looking at. And we have some guiding questions sort of activate thinking here at the top, and we've put them inside of a nice content block here to get attention rather than having these questions kind of blend in here. But then as the content progresses and we want students to sort of see how they're doing before maybe moving on to a quiz or discussion or something like that, we've built these with Design Plus quick check items. So this first one, just a really quick basic question based on something that they just read. The student selects their answer, and when they click on check answer, the instructor can build in feedback based on the student's response. So as the student is clicking through, you can provide corrective feedback or feedback that encourages them to, where to look back at, or even extensions, which we'll look at in a second. But each one of these sort of operates independently. We can link out to other resources based on a student's response, or even include an extension for the student's learning. And so these are content-based. One thing that I wanted to mention too that's kind of fun is that Design Plus is working towards implementing some artificial intelligence design assistance for instructors. And so this question here, when I shared this as a prompt for the design assistant, it's still in the early development phases, but still something fun I wanted to mention. The design assistant, the AI, created this quick check, the question and the answers and the feedback. And then I went and I was able to reword the question maybe for to make it more clear, add in specific feedback related to my page or links and things like that. And so by adding in that design assistant in the future, it'll make it even easier for instructors to create really great, brief, formative assessments like this one. And then this one is same element. It's a quick check, but it's taking a little different approach. So rather than saying there's a correct answer or a wrong answer, it's just sort of a, how are you feeling about what you're learning? And when you check in, then your teacher can have some information for you. Go and read again, pay attention to these things as you're reading. I need help. Okay, great. Send me a message right away. Here's our content shortcut to go right to the inbox. I'm feeling great. Cool. You're ready to move on to the quiz. And if you want, you can learn more about dwarf planets. Here's an extension. So another kind of cool application of the quick check feature. And then last, what I wanted to share was, what does this kind of look like in the interface? And so here's, you can see sort of everything is expanded. You can choose your answers. You can set your feedback, decide which of these is the correct answer. You can have multiple correct answers. It gives you a small preview here as well. And then, as Stephanie mentioned, you can hide the next button so that students can't continue in the module until they've completed the quick checks, and you can put in what the text will be there. But we try to practice what we preach here at Cidi Labs, and so within the tools in the sidebar, we have just-in-time helps such as a training video that you can launch from right here inside of the tool, information that leads you to a user guide with articles about the tool and its interface and what all the buttons do. Certain tools that we have walkthrough options where you can choose a tool and it will walk you through, step by step what each thing is, kind of like this. And so we have those available for many of the tools. And then other helps and tutorials are available for you to get support or just-in-time help from within the sidebar itself. Release notes are all available from within the sidebar, so you can see what's new and how development is going. So anyway, just wanted to make sure and show that off as well.
I love that, Ethan. One of the things that it makes me think of as a nerdy student and someone who was always craving more deeper information is that these quick checks are one of the things that online learning does really well, is that it provides an opportunity just for students to go deeper. And so having those extra resources, having those things right there on that page and they don't have to leave that page is such a creative and innovative way to keep the students who are hungry for more and feeding them all their curiosity, which we know supports their agency and success as learners.
Yeah, I'll tell you that actually that dwarf planet video, my 3-year-old got super hooked on apparently from his preschool and has the whole thing memorized and was like seeing it. So he would have loved that extension opportunity. Totally right, Kristen. I love that Ethan pointed out that Cidi Labs is practicing what we preach, because we know you're learners with these tools and you're probably asking a ton of questions in the chat, like, how do I do that? Tell me more. And so those resources are built in for you while you're using the sidebar, because we know, right? It's the best place for those resources to be, to make it easy for you to learn. So hopefully the tools we've highlighted today for embedding just-in-time support help you be the student support superhero you've always hoped to be. As you saw with Design Plus, you can quickly and effectively support a successful start, support each task at hand in your course, and support your learners' self-monitoring, all to increase their success and efficacy. And hopefully, as an added bonus, unleashing your support superpowers also helps reduce the number of distress signals that you receive from your learners.
We want to connect on any of the fun topics that we got in our other poll responses. We saw a lot about interactivity, active engagement, finding ways to create support around those types of assignments that are specifically around interaction and engagement. There were some ideas that we had internally that we can share, and maybe we can show some things that might look like that, if that works for everyone. So one of the things that one of our teammates, Julie, has learned recently, or probably not recently because she's been teaching for a long time, is that breaking out instructions, especially for an assignment that has multiple tasks, and putting those into expander panels, chunking the steps basically, minimizes confusion. And this is really helpful for students that might be ADHD or just get overwhelmed easily when there's too much going on. And so by creating the steps into individual expander tabs, that helps minimize that overwhelm feeling.
Yeah, I've got an expander on the screen, but imagine thinking like 3 of these in a row, step 1, step 2, step 3, where they only view step 1, at each moment. Great.
Another idea is just having multiple formats of instructions. So having a video, a how-to video accompanying these steps with the chunked information so that you can have multiple formats of information coming together helps give more student support so that they can see it and they can read it and they can process that together information and synthesize so that they're doing what they need to do. All right, I think that was all for the things, but we love this topic of interactive assignments and want to come back to it and probably do a whole webinar on this. So stay tuned for that in the future. So thank you so much, Stephanie, and Ethan for putting all of this together. I hope that we've piqued your curiosity about Design Plus or any of the other products that we have at Cidi Labs. I'm going to drop some links in the chat for you. But we do have another tool that I would love to show you to help expand your student support endeavors. So this is our newest tool called Observe Ed. If you can imagine if the staff from your advising, athletic, or disability or equity offices had the ability to observe your students' academic performance in Canvas in real time without any privacy or data concerns, that's Observe Ed. It's the easiest way to keep a caring eye on the students whose success you are especially interested in. Say goodbye to the privacy concerns and outdated reports as Observe Ed cleverly peers into Canvas to provide that real-time data you need for specific student populations, including grades, due dates, participation, and alerts. Rest easy knowing that this clever LTI tool helps you avoid the risk of oversharing with clunky workarounds, such as enrolling staff into students' Canvas courses or providing Canvas admin access. I'll drop a link in the chat, and we'd love to talk to you more about Observe Ed. And as we've mentioned throughout this today, this is our accompanying live webinar of our Design Matters Digest. So if this content excites you, we send out these digests every month. It is our blog that's on our website, and it is free and available to everyone. And we really want you to spread this information. So the more people that we can empower course designers, educators, to make their Canvas courses more engaging, more accessible, and more research-backed, we all win. So this monthly digest and webinar will continue, and we'll be sharing our best practices and tips to help you improve your Canvas courses. We'll drop the link in chat to help you sign up and get these in your inbox. We also have a whole bunch of fun webinars coming up for you. So our next one is the Extreme Makeover Canvas Course Edition. If you missed our session at InstructureCon, we had a packed room with this very entertaining and silly and practical real spoof of the Home and Garden TV with 3 real-life customers getting makeovers of their Canvas courses, learning which tools and features to help make their makeover dreams come true. And then next month, we will be joined by Boston College, where they're going to be sharing how they're using templates to scale course consistency and quality across their campus. They're doing some really innovative things, so I would love to have you join us for that. And then in September, we also have our next Design Matters Live, where we focused on designing for a sense of belonging. And we'll explore the ways that you can create practical things that help your students feel like they belong in their course and they have a sense of agency and feeling good about what they're doing in that space. So you can register for our webinars and on this page here, drop that. Oh, thank you for fixing that. And we have about 13 minutes left for Q&A. So we will move over to that. We've got a couple of questions to answer. Let me see where we are. All right. So one of our first questions was from Samantha Morris. Is the resource block only in Ethan's box, or is it available to all of us? And we had another question in the chat with a similar idea.
Yeah, great question. So I created that one in that specific course. And so when you create some of these templated items in your course, it becomes available to you in that course. You can also add items like that block into your institution like wide course. We call it the primary customizations course. Then it becomes available to all users in your institution. But that one in particular is right now just in mine. I will be happy to share it inside of the Design Plus library, which is a course in our Canvas instance where you can go and see lots of different blocks and template pages and themes, all sorts of stuff that we've created and that customers have sent to us. And then with the click of a button, you can pull those into your institution's primary customizations course as well. So I'll add that exact resources block in there. And if you're interested in finding that and adding that, feel free to touch base with us again, and I'll point you in the right direction of where that is in the library.
And maybe a quick note there that if anyone is a legacy customer, they might not know about those course level customizations. And so they could, those are part of that new sidebar, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, having it in the course level,
Mm-hmm.
like course level content blocks or snippets or things like that is new for the new sidebar. And everything that we've shown you today is with the new sidebar.
There was a question from Maria Tenney. If you change the content in the template content tool original location, will it change in the linked location? So I think we were doing the zebra background knowledge.
Yep, that's a great question. So with a template page, it will not, but with a policy, that special policies page, it will. That synchronization happens when you edit the child page. So if I make a change in the source, it won't override the existing HTML. But when I go into the place where I copied it to, the policies, then when I edit that page, Design Plus will go to the latest version, fetch it, and add it to the HTML. So that syncing process is only with policies pages, not all template pages.
And then we had a question about what feature is used to create the show rubric button. And there was also a question related to it about the message teacher shortcut.
Yeah, those are both available from the same tool. Again, only in the new sidebar. This is not something that exists in Legacy, but there's a tool called Content Shortcuts. And if you add a content shortcut, then the one that is globally available is the message teacher button that can be added anywhere. But the show discussion rubric will only appear if you are editing a graded discussion that has a rubric. So yeah, if you want, you can always go to the search for content shortcuts. Yep, that's what it looks like. And so
I love that the new sidebar allows you to search for any feature. That just
yes.
makes it so easy.
Yeah, we doubled the amount of tools you can add, and so the search definitely became necessary. But yeah, so here you can see global shortcuts is message teacher. If Stephanie were editing a graded discussion with a rubric, then additional options would be there. And that's where the show rubric button would be.
Excellent. And then Brenda wanted to know, can I use the templates I create in one course in a different course, or do I have to redesign them?
That's a really good question. So if you're using this course, then you would have to bring your templates with you. But if you used a customizations course, and we have the ability to set those up even at a personal level, you can have your own little personal customizations course that can follow you no matter where you go in your Canvas. And then you don't have to move those templates along with you. So without a customizations course, yes, you would have to move the template first into the new course, and then you can use it there.
We can use, right, the import by URL option, but do know that if there were any linked items like a file or an image that's from that other course, you'll want to come into the accessibility and usability options and use the external assets tool that'll just pull all that content in for you. So there's a little bit of a shortcut there. You can use that URL, but you do want to make sure that, like the example that we gave, if it had some of those files in it, those files wouldn't work for your learners if you use that URL.
Just to clarify what Stephanie's showing is these are the built-in accessibility tools within Design Plus that help on a per page basis to cover making sure you've got your links and alt text and all of those things and your assets are coming in right for students. All right, well, it looks like we have answered all of our Q&A. If there's anything else that anyone has questions about, please let us know. Otherwise, we will be sharing this recording in the next few days, and I will send out also the resources and citations because someone had asked for that. We are so appreciative of you. Thank you for being part of our community, and we look forward to seeing you next month for our next webinar. Or in a few days if you're going to join next week. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good day.